the morning spotlight presentation. It is my true pleasure to introduce our AM presenters. We have a wonderful project that we're going to listen and learn from them. My name is Milena Stekova. I'm one of the members of the Research Council, the Week of the Nurse, and I would like to present the first presenter, Miss Cheryl Bennett. Miss Bennett is a and she's going to talk about nurses and technicians' perception of safety when handling specimens and formalin. Thank you, Miss Bennett.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So my project is a system-wide QA/QI project. So it does entail all of the operating rooms across the Cheryl system. And I started looking at this project in particular because we have an evidence-based practice council in surgical services, and one day we were just, I guess, talking about formalin, and labor and delivery basically said, we never use that hazardous material, we use saline on all of our specimens. So that kind of sparked the question of why are we across our system using a hazardous material when we could potentially use saline. And in order to really make an impact across the system, we had to start at a different level, really looking at are we unsafe using formalin when we're placing them on specimens. So when I did my initial literature search, basically there is no literature out there from an OR perspective looking at nurses and their safety in using formalin or formaldehyde, whichever you prefer to call it. So a little bit of background and significance. There are many entities that really talk about the use of formalin and how we should protect ourselves from formalin when we are using those with specimens. And in particular, the AORN, Association of Operating Room Nurses, and OSHA provides us criteria for safe use of that. So the purpose of my study really is to look at nurses and technicians' perception of safety. So we're asking the questions, you know, do we think we're doing the right thing when we are pouring formalin onto specimens? And the extent to which we're actually following our national guidelines, and also looking at the level of exposure that nurses and technicians actually are exposed to. So this particular presentation only goes through perceptions and observations. We are in the phase of collecting data with the formaldehyde badges. So we implemented this study in 3 phases. We did a Qualtrics survey, we did observations, and then the third phase that we're interacting with now is the use of the formaldehyde passive monitoring badges. My study questions looked at do operating room nurses and technicians perceive that they are safe when handling specimens requiring formalin, and that was a 13-question survey that was administered to staff. Really, it was administered to evaluate their knowledge and their practice when they handle specimens with formalin. And then we also did direct observation. So we sat and watched people handle specimens and pour formalin onto them and look at things like, you know, are they wearing their gloves? Are they wearing their mask? Are they wearing protective eyewear? And then took that information and kind of pulled it together into results. So 229 staff across operating room services throughout the system were invited to participate. 133 surveys were completed, so we had a target rate of 58%, which is pretty good. Within the survey, one of the questions we asked was, does your facility have a policy that really shows you what you're supposed to do when you're handling specimens with formalin on there? And 66% of our staff said, yes, we do, when in reality, only 40% of staff really had policies. And that 40% equated to the medical center here. So the cardiac OR, the vascular OR, the main OR, and the ambulatory surgery center were the only ones that had a policy when many facilities said, yes, we do. And as we were working on this project, Carilion Stonewall Jackson was surveyed by the Joint Commission, and they asked them to show them their policy on how to handle specimens with formalin. So it was timely in that we were able to really use our results to help them look at what components they need in a policy. So we also surveyed staff's perception of their risk, and as you can see here, the majority of staff did not feel like that there was a very high concern in handling a hazardous material such as formalin when putting them on specimens. The majority were low to moderate. So our results with looking at specific observation said, the survey said that 69% of our staff said they always use personal protective equipment, which is gloves, mask, and protective eyewear. But when we actually did the observation, there was a lot of variability. So if we said we always use them, then every line on the March 2016 graph should be at the top. And as you can see, there is a lot of variability of what they said they do and what they actually do in practice. So next steps will be using the passive monitoring badge, and that badge will actually tell us what specific exposure we have, and we're using the monitoring badges in areas that have a hood. So you stick the specimen over there, you pour formalin on it, and there's an exhaust system. We're using it where we go into a closet basically and fill the specimen cup up with formalin, and then we're using it open in an OR room. So the conclusions really show that there's inconsistencies between staff's perception and the data that we've observed, and inconsistencies in knowledge and the practice among all individuals and sites. So the next steps will look at policy development so that we can ensure that there's consistent practice and staff education. And then implications for us as nurses. The absence of a standardized policy and the lack of consistency in knowledge does produce a risk for us. Our findings will assist in ensuring that we are safe when we handle specimens with formalin, and they will help us determine if we need additional equipment across the system. And also, following that, following any implementation, we will do additional education and follow-up. And then I do want to take the opportunity to recognize so many people that helped with this project. It is system-wide, so we had representatives from every facility and every OR that have helped provide the data to us and helped with the surveys. And then Rama, she spent many, many hours with me trying to pull the results together. Questions?
So was this project implemented only in Carilion, or you have all the 7 hospitals?
It is across all the hospitals, yes.
Did you say the closet where you were pouring the formalin was vented, or that's not necessary?
The closets, we have one area, which is the main OR Memorial, that has a hood that has an exhaust system. All of the other closets are not there are no exhaust systems in there. And I do have some of the data back from the formalin badges, but that's a surprise. I'm not going to share that with you because it's pretty conclusive about what we're doing and what we see and how safe we really are. Okay, thank you.